thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cyndi O'Meara, Carren Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Cyndi O'Meara, and we're in the third week of my interviews with people that will be doing or be speaking and presenting at the Functional Nutrition Academy Summit this year in Brisbane at the Queensland University of Technology on the 28th and 29th of July. On the 27th of July, on the evening in Brisbane, we'll also be playing the documentary What's with Wheat, and we'll be doing a forum after it with not only myself, but also with Dr. Rodney Ford, gastroenterologist and pediatrician, who is also in my movie. And if I can sneak Kim Morrison in, she'll be on the forum as well, because she's in the movie with me. So today I'll be interviewing Melonie Thomson, who is a naturopath, and she is a naturopath for cultured wellness, and her knowledge of herbs is amazing. You just want to listen to her for hours and hours and hours. So we've only got 30 minutes with her, so enjoy her interview that I do with her. And second, I don't think this girl needs any introduction. We all know what she's like, is Carren Smith. And Carren, I do a 30-minute interview with her also, and she'll be talking about what she'll be talking about at the summit. So enjoy.
Welcome to the speaker's introduction for the Nutrition Summit of 2018. There's a wonderful lineup of speakers that will be giving you more information about nutrition more than you've learned in the course. I've handpicked every one of these myself, and they will be giving you the latest in science and research in their field. And there are many fields that we're looking at. I have with me at the moment Melonie Thomson, who will be talking all things herbs. Welcome.
Hi, Cyndi. Thanks so much for having me.
Now, what I want to do is I want to ask why you do what you do, because I think it's important that we know why you do what you do and what is it that you do.
Well, why I do what I do, I guess, is, it probably started when I was a lot younger. So working in the garden, learning about different herbs and picking them and creating foods out of them, and then creating meals from these beautiful gifts from nature. So that probably led me down the path to study naturopathy, which is what I'm practicing at the moment, with a big passion in herbal medicine. So I guess herbs, they've been around for thousands of years. Over time, we've refined them. We know we have lots of different applications of using them. And I guess they allow us to take a vitalistic approach to health and well-being.
Oh, you said the right word, because one of the first modules is vitalism, and they learn the philosophy of vitalism, because many of our medications are taken from the herbs, aren't they?
Yeah, most of our pharmaceutical drugs are either indirectly or directly derived from medicinal herbs.
And you wonder why don't we just keep it all together? Why don't we just keep the plant synchronistically working together? That's always been my question. Why do we have to extract that component that we in science believes is the thing that does all the work? But what about all the other little components around it?
And that's such a great question, and it's probably why I'm so passionate about herbs. So a lot of pharmacists, they extract that active constituent, which can be the main structure of that herb, and they look at that as being the only medicinal part, and the rest of the elements are just rubbish. Whereas, herbalists, we look at the whole herb as the active constituent, and that kind of brings in the phenomenon of synergy. And the fact that isolating certain active constituents have shown to be less active than combining them. So actually using the whole herb and all its components shows to have an effect on the same thing, but, 10 times better. And they can't prove this, in terms of scientific ways these days, but it's just this beautiful phenomena of synergy. So we get that as one complete herb, But that's where we've also shown that even using 2 or 3 herbs, there's also beautiful synergistic effects between that as well.
I was listening to a TED video, and it was, I don't remember who the gentleman was, and I've really got to find it again. But what blew me away was that he was working with South American Indians, and he noticed that they combined 5 plants together. And I think it was for increasing mental stimulation or spiritual realm or something like that. So some of them were drug-inducing as far as changing the mind. But he knew that if they took – so he had looked at all these 5 plants, and he knew if they took one, it would kill them.
Yep.
And so he asked the South Americans, Indians, he said, how do you know to combine these 5 plants? Because each one of them does one thing, and one of them is quite dangerous. How do you know to combine them? And you know what his answer was? The plants speak to us.
Yeah, it's so romantic, isn't it?
It was so romantic. And like, this was on TED, and it was, it was a 20-minute amazing talk, and he went through, he actually showed the chemical components, what they do in the body, how they do it. And how did they figure out that these 5 needed to come together? And I guess that's culture and tradition. And that's perhaps, do you practice Chinese herbal medicine? Is that what you're practicing, or all across the board?
All across the board. So I've got like that the training in Western herbal medicine, but we do tie in Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine have their own traditional ways of prescribing it, and very much, they never question their traditional practice. Whereas unfortunately in the Western world, we do have this thing where we have to have that scientific evidence as to why this herb works, why we should combine or shouldn't combine herbs. So there's a beauty in it, I guess, because it gives our traditional practice some, or it rationalizes our traditional practice, and it makes it more acceptable in the modern world. But yeah, it's an interesting path, and there's so much to learn. So Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine are a very big passion of mine as well, to take a bit more in.
So will we learn from you at the summit? Will we learn a little bit about Ayurvedic? Because I don't know a lot about Ayurvedic. I've heard about it. I love the idea of it. I think Deepak Chopra was the first time I ever heard about Ayurvedic medicine back in the 70s or 80s. I can't remember when that was. But will you teach us any Ayurvedic medicine, or?
I will definitely talk about herbs that are Ayurvedic herbs. I'm definitely not an Ayurvedic practitioner, but I have quite a strong yogic background, and I used to cook Ayurvedic foods for many years. So I definitely will tie in other aspects of healing and how they play a big role, not just in the actual herb, but the energetics and that intuitive practice as well.
Yeah. Now, how I met you was through Kirsty Worth, who is Cultured Wellness, who was my saviour back in 2015 when I had a daughter who had a 4 wisdom teeth taken out. She'd also been given her first ever antibiotic, and it was given to her intravenously, broad spectrum dental, worst you could ever be given. It decimated her gut bacteria, and the wisdom teeth were also a problem. They did a very bad job, and she had cavitations, and we had to have them fixed. But with the help of Kirsty, we brought her back from anxiety, depression, isolation, bloated stomach, not able to tolerate foods, to where she's not what she was. I don't know if she'll ever get back there, but she's at least 80 to 90% better, and she can eat more foods, and she doesn't get a bloated stomach, and, life's good for her. So to me, Kirsty's been a very big part in her life and my life. And so I met through Kirsty you, and she has such a high opinion of you and your knowledge of herbs. She says all she wants to do is just soak up your information on herbs. So let me know, what do you do with Kirsty?
Oh, well, first off, she's such a beautiful soul. So I very much enjoy being a part of the Cultured Wellness team. So obviously Kirsty has this amazing program that's looking at, rebalancing the gut microbiome. And we use, those scientific sort of tools like BioScreen to really give us a good understanding of each individual. I guess what my role was to bring in an alternative to antibiotics. So if someone does have an imbalance in their gut, how can we know with her program there's the food as medicine aspect and all the detoxing tools, but how can we help that process along by using herbal medicines to, sort of eradicate or get rid of a lot of those overgrowths that aren't beneficial, and also heal the gut to help it, help those good bacteria stick and set up home, really.
So you're the formulator, would I say? You're the formulator and the one that says who should have this and who shouldn't have that? And
yeah, definitely. So, and this is, like what you were saying before, everybody is different. So herbs are going to affect people differently. So we have, I have formulated a certain amount of different cleansers, and then we have the one-on-one, consultations just to make sure that these herbs are appropriate for each person and that they're going to get the best healing outcome from them.
So culinary herbs, will you be speaking about culinary herbs at all through the hour and a half that you have with my students?
Oh, definitely. That's where everything began for me. And that's the foundation of my practice, food as medicine. And, that's just got to be the number one part of it. And then we use all different other types of medicinal applications to enhance the healing if we need to add a little bit extra in. But yeah.
So you're going to teach us how to make tinctures? Are we going to do something like that? A little bit of alcohol, throw the herb in and let it sit.
We can make cocktails. I'll be talking about the different applications of medicinal herbs, like your tinctures and your herbal extracts. Unfortunately, we probably won't be able to make them because they do take time. But I'll do a breakdown of it and why I use the herbal extracts probably above and beyond some other herbal applications available.
Oh, well, I look forward to listening to you. And it's so funny because I'm not sure if people understand that the reason I handpick everybody is that I want to listen to you. I want to hear, I want to learn from you. That's why I do this. Or I've interviewed everybody so far, and, when I listen to them, I realize that they've come into my life for some reason. And they're here to teach, and they're here not only to teach myself, but they're here to teach the students. So the students learn so much in a 12-month period, but there's just so much information out there. And I don't know about you, Melonie, but for me, I find that the more I learn, the more I don't know. And especially when you start to learn about the medicinal uses of herbs, and my mind blows. It really does when I start really going into the nitty-gritty. But if I'm going to bring it back, and I'd love you to speak on this, if I'm going to bring it back, when we look vitalistically at something, we don't need to know the real nitty-gritty of the biochemical reactions and everything like that. We just need to know that this herb, scientifically we've proved this, but this herb will help this condition. Would you like to speak on that?
So I guess, and that very much comes down to the individual. So this herb may treat that condition, but that may not be for everybody. So there are a lot of herbs that will have the same action, and that's where it really, that consultation with a practitioner is super important for us to get a feeling of what's going on. So what are the symptoms, looking at that underlying causes that could be associated, but also identifying or feeling into their energy and intuitively looking at those herbs on a whole, and what other herbs are, I guess, unique for them, and in combining them are going to give them or promote their innate healing process in their body.
And when you consider that there's a lot of herbs, you know, like we can walk through a paddock and don't even realize that we're walking on our food. I did a wild medicine, wild food course out at Conondale, which is just out on the Sunshine Coast Ranges. And I did it with this SAS gentleman, and we actually interviewed him, and his knowledge was how to survive in the bush. And what he found, like natural antibiotics. He showed us in lichen some natural antibiotics, and he showed us things that would help in, I can't even remember all the things now, but it's like when I first went for a walk with him, I just walked through the bush. After I'd spent a weekend with him, I said to him, I'm walking on my food. I can't do this. I'm working on my medicine. But you just realize that, you know, a weed isn't a weed. Perhaps it's just something that we don't understand its mechanism.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, most of our most potent medicinal herbs are what most people consider weeds. And yeah, definitely, you know, all around us, there's so much beauty, but so much more to each plant, and even trees and the bark from trees and leaves from certain plants. I used to live on a remote island off Cape York, and there'd be times where I was there on my own, and I would just think about what was in my orchard and what was around me, because there is no medical help. There is no communication sometimes. So what am I going to do to support myself and others, you know? And it was just such a beautiful process of connecting with what was around me and really understanding how I could mix them together as well.
Oh my gosh, that's a story in itself. That sounds amazing that you've done that. Lived on a remote area.
Yeah.
Are we going to hear more about that one?
Probably. It was a very big part of my life. So.
Oh, I look forward to that. I won't ask any more questions. I will look forward to that.
Okay.
All right. Anything else you'd like to let everybody know that you'll be talking about? Just, you know, so that they know what they're prepared and they're prepared to understand what they're going to be learning from you.
Well, I guess, you know, I will be talking about, you know, the breakdown of herbs. So what it is we look at in herbal medicine. So, you know, the part of the herbs that are used, the different active constituents, also looking at the pharmacology of the herbs. So how the different applications and why we would use one application over another application. So when that becomes an importance. Probably a big part as well for me, that's that romantic part, is the traditional uses of herbs. And obviously there, like I mentioned, that scientific evidence is something we hear all the time. So looking at both and looking how, you know, phytochemistry and the study of those active constituents actually just rationalizes that beautiful traditional use, but also gives us, I guess, a better grounding to access a lot of other people and be able to use herbs for them, because you're giving them that extra information. So I'll definitely be looking at the scientific evidence and the traditional evidence, looking at it as a great alternative to pharmaceutical drugs, and the fact that, you know, it enables us to have that vitalistic approach. And I guess just some key points that were always passed on to me, and there was something that was just stuck in my mind, you know, whenever there was doubt throughout my whole training, even when I practice now, if there's ever like, oh, is this herb right? There's my lecturer there just in the back of my head going, you need to trust in the herbs. So there is this beautiful romantic element to herbal medicine that I think is very uplifting on an energetic level.
No, it is. You're actually speaking our language, you know, the Functional Nutrition Academy. And this is not just only for students. So this can also be for people that aren't students and just want more information and they want to learn from the likes of you. But you're speaking our language. So we talk about vitalism. We talk about our traditional ways, our cultures. So, and then we look at the science, because what we're finding is that science is actually supporting those old cultures and traditions and the traditional way of using that herb, whether it be a culinary or an extract or a tincture or however we used it and why we used it. So it'll be a time of learning for all of us. I hope everybody brings their pens and papers, and we might need to record it too, because I always find I can never write fast enough when you guys are talking.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's going to be wonderful. All right. I think we've given them a taste of exactly what you'll be talking on, and you have I hope people, if they're not watching the video, you just got a smile on your face the whole time, and I can feel your passion for this subject, and everyone will just be enthralled with what you're saying because of your passion. You just oozing. You haven't stopped smiling.
Oh.
It's wonderful to see.
Yeah, I do love my herbs, and I think everyone that knows me, I've got a herb for anything that you want to say to me. I've got a herb that's going to back it up. So I'm very passionate about herbal medicine, and very passionate about making it more available to a wider variety of people, because a lot of people don't quite understand it, and a lot of people have a lot of fear around herbs, and it's just not necessary.
No. And you know what I find is that people have lost their trust in the innateness of the human body, the intelligence of the food around us, and herbs, we've used them for forever, basically. They've been in for as long as our existence has been there. We have used these herbs, whether we've used them as a culinary or whether we've used them as a medicine. And you might know a little bit more about this, but the Australian Aboriginal people, they never call it medicine. They say it's for food.
Exactly.
It's part of what we've always done. Yeah.
And they have some of the oldest herbal medicine remedies around there, or food remedies.
So we're going to learn about those as well?
We'll learn a little bit about those.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be great. All right. I think I've tempted everybody enough. And so we look forward to seeing you July 28th and 29th in Brisbane at the Functional Nutrition Academy Summit of 2018. Look forward to seeing you there. Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Welcome to the speaker's introduction for the Nutrition Summit for 2018. We have a wonderful lineup of speakers to give you more information on nutrition as well as setting up your business. I've handpicked all these speakers myself. They give us the latest science and research in their field. Right now, we have Carren Smith. Her topic will be the mindset of change. So, Carren, why do you do what you do? That's my first question, because we're not going to give away everything for the summit, but I just want them to understand where you're coming from and why you do what you do.
Well, it's a really good question, and it's a question that, I get asked a lot, but when it comes from somebody like you, it's got a different level of meaning to it, because it's not just I'm here because I want to tell everybody about what I know. When it comes from you, it's about really elevating people to a whole new level of life. Mm-hmm. And because of the work that you do with everybody, and particularly at this summit and what everybody's going to be experiencing at the summit, it's going to be moving people outside of the confines of their comfort zone, of what they're used to experiencing and what feels normal and safe. And I think that your whole methodology, Cyndi, through your whole message and your whole life almost, has been very much about moving people outside of what's comfortable and what's conditioned. And when I look at what you do and why you've chosen me to be one of your speakers, I think it's very much because we surf the same wave when it comes to that. For both of us, it's really important that we act as conduits or support for human beings to be able to live a bigger life and a better life, a more inspired and expanded life, where opportunities can find us, where growth can find us, and of course challenge finds us more easily, because we become magnetic. And that's really why I do what I do. It's to help people become more magnetic in their life, so that they can attract the money they want, the career they want, the partnerships they want, the love, the laughter, the fun, the freedom. All of those sorts of things tend to come when we move outside of the skin bag that makes us feel limited and small. And, when I'm speaking at the summit, I'm going to share with everybody my own personal story, of course, and I'll share with you guys how I got to know everything that I know. And so that everybody feels like they're in really safe hands when I take the stage. But I think today on this interview, it's really cool to be able to share just a little taste, just like a little tapas plate of what will open up and what will become possible when it comes to what's going on between our two ears and the experience of life that we have, particularly when it comes to growing your business, and particularly when it comes to sharing what you've been learning in the Nutrition Summit with the people outside in your own environment and in your own world. Because the work is great while it sits in here, but it makes no difference until it goes out there. And that's really what my job is in this summit, is to really support you in being able to be exceptional, to believe that you're exceptional, but then to create an exceptional impact and influence in the world outside for you.
And that's exactly what I wanted, is that I find that they do the work, they graduate, and even if they're halfway through, they get excited about what they can do, but then they freeze. It's like they have this fear. Is it the fear of being, big? What's Nelson Mandela's, who are you to play small or something?
Oh, yeah.
We have to play big. And if we don't play big, then people aren't going to hear this message. And that's the issue, is that they don't realize how important this message is. We've got a lot of sick kids out there, a lot of sick adults and a lot of sick elderly. And they don't know, because all they know is to go to their doctor. They get diagnosed. They're treated usually with medications or chemicals or operations. They don't know what's possible. So while I do what's possible in the nutrition field, what I find you do, Carren, is that you do what's possible in the field that's between their ears. And so what? Yeah, that's what you do, like just expand people between their ears. You get them to play bigger. And I know when I did Mindset Mastery with you, I still remember that 5 days.
Yeah.
I had 5 days with Carren, everybody. Can you imagine it? It was the most amazing 5 days, that Mindset
Excruciating.
Mastery. No, I loved it. It's in, I don't know how many years ago it was, but I loved it so much. It was at the Marichdor RSL, and I learnt heaps from you. And they only have you for an hour and a half. That's it. Yeah. That's all they get you. So I want to make sure that they're prepped with this interview so that they can then, move on to where they need to go. So how about giving us just some nuggets as to what you think they need to do to get out of their own way to be the success that they need to be?
Look, it's, for somebody standing on the outside looking in, I can say, oh, look, it's a no-brainer. The steps are really straightforward. They're really simple. But when you haven't done it before, or you're venturing into new territory with new knowledge and new content and new enthusiasm, we're going to go through different phases in our business development or our self-development. And every phase is really natural and normal. So what I want to say to everybody is, don't try to halt the phases. What I want to say to everybody is, come to the Nutrition Summit and accelerate through them, because every phase in business or every phase in growth is natural and normal. So that initial enthusiasm and excitement and let me out there, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make this world amazing, that's so fantastic, because that's kind of where there's that whole saying of 80% of your success comes from your enthusiasm and 20% comes from your skill. And it's probably 90-10. It's, in the very beginning, your enthusiasm is so infectious. And ultimately what we want to try and do is capture that, really, really make the most of that time when it comes to building a following, building your profile. Because you see, if nobody knows what you're doing, you're the best kept secret in this incredibly powerful message. And we can't have that. We definitely don't want that. We don't want any best kept secrets out here. What we want is for you to be able to harness that enthusiasm. So that's the first thing we're going to teach you, is how to harness that initial enthusiasm and make the most out of it, both from a profile point of view, but from a profit point of view too. Because that's the next piece. Most people that I work with in business, when they first start, they do really well for a little bit and they think, oh, this is going to be great. But then the very nature of business and moving from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence, so it's kind of like the next phase. That's kind of where we realize, oh, actually, hang on a second. People have got questions I can't answer. maybe I'm not so great. Maybe I don't really know what I'm doing. And then all of our unconscious childhood self-belief of I'm not enough and I'm not good enough comes to the surface and grabs us by the throat and pinches off the flow of life. That's the part that I'm going to show you how to accelerate through. Everybody goes through it. It's natural and it's normal. But what Cyndi's suggesting is that most people will go through that phase and freeze. But it's because the unconscious reptilian brain is the part of us that needs to maintain the status quo, needs to keep us safe. And it's all happening unconsciously, because consciously you have an amazing vision. You've just invested so much time becoming exceptionally experienced and knowledgeable about what's true, right, and real for humanity. And you can see the desperate need out there, and now it's just putting the two together in a way that's going to work for everybody. So you've got to be willing to ride the waves. And if you know that they're coming, then you can kind of start to see the signs. Whereas if you don't know that they're coming, because most people when they first start out, they don't know what's coming. And that's really normal too. You know, if you've never done it before, this is new. So what I want to show you is that you're totally safe. You're absolute, and you will be in completely safe hands, especially with everybody else that's also speaking at the summit. But we'll show you how to accelerate past that I'm not enough and straight into conscious competence, where you know enough and you feel comfortable and confident in your own ability to be able to transform lives. And that's why you did this course in the first place. That's why you're attending this summit in the first place. You want to transform lives, but it's going to take a little bit of self-transformation along the way. Then once we get you into the conscious competence, then it's just about strategy. Then it's just about, okay, so how do I continue to build my profile? How do I continue to help more people? And I'm going to share with you some strategies that's one-on-one and that's also one-to-many. Because there's a couple of different ways that you can build and develop your business. But then I'm also going to share with you some of the roadblocks that you're going to come up against when you're building all of this beautiful dream of yours. There's going to be some mindset blocks that you're going to have to mine your way through so that you recognize them for what they are, but they don't become something that holds you back from your vision. And that's where most people get caught, is they see what they want. And, you know, I've got this big belief, and I'll tell you more about this at the summit, but I've got this big belief. If you can see it, you can be it. It's what's meant for you. So it's your birthright to step into that beautiful vision that you're holding for yourself. And sometimes you just don't know how because it's new. And if you were supposed to know, you'd already be doing it. So follow in the footsteps of those that have gone before you and learn how to do it properly. Avoid the pitfalls, sidestep some of the challenges that you don't need to go through by following in the footsteps of those that have done it before. And I guess that's kind of my job. And coming back to answering Cyndi's question as to why I do what I do, it's to show you how to do it and do it with ease.
That's what I love, is with ease. I loved how you said whether it's one-on-one or one-on-many.
Yes.
There could be some people coming that it is one-on-one on themselves and they're trying to change themselves. And I love the fact that you said that's what you've got to do first, is you've got to work on what you're doing and your beliefs and everything like that. Then you can go out and help other people. And it's not that we change other people. We just give them the information. We influence them for them to make those changes. And I love that. I have to say this, and I want to hear what you think about this. So my business coach said to me recently, he said, Cyndi, boring is profitable. Because you know me, I've got these ideas all the time, and I want to do this, and like I've got this idea on a television series, and then I've got an idea on a summit, like a different type of summit, like one online, and then I got an idea on this, and he just looks at me and he goes, boring is profitable. So what do you think about that?
Ooh, that's a...
Because I know Miss Carren Smith very well.
How do I answer that?
Well, you're a creative. Carren is an unbelievable creative. And when she does something, she does it amazingly well. But sometimes we just have to follow the system, don't we? And I know with you, when you are creative and then you follow a system and it becomes a success, then you go, okay, I've done that. It's time for me to move on to my next thing.
Yes.
So, but you do that boring bit. You do the creative, but then you have to follow those systems. So do you want to speak about that?
Yeah, so I have, so this yellow wall here behind me in my office here is actually a whiteboard. So I've painted the wall yellow because I like yellow. It's nice and fresh and shiny. And then there's a paint that you can put over the top of it that makes it like a whiteboard. So I draw on it with whiteboard markers. So that's where all of my ideas go. And I never stop the flow of ideas. I never tell myself that I can't get those fantastic ideas the first minute I wake up, or when I'm on the toilet, or if I'm in the shower, when I get those moments of pure brilliance. It goes up on my wall, or it goes into a little journal that I have that I carry around in my handbag. So I'm always in that state. When an idea comes to me, I write it down. I don't always pursue it, because not every idea is profitable, and not every idea has a beginning and an end. Sometimes ideas just bring a flavor, but they don't necessarily bring a process along with them. So when I get an idea, I actually have a structure that I'll run that idea through in terms of, why is that idea going to work for me first and foremost? Why is it going to work for me? What's it going to do for me? And then why is that going to work for the people that I serve? And then what is that idea really? Let me flesh it out. What is it in terms of its impact for me, and what's its impact from the people I serve? And then I flesh out, how does this work? How will I deliver this? How will this unfold? How's that strategy going to roll out? And then once I can get it through those structures, then I'll see very clearly whether this is an idea that I plan to pursue, and if it's an idea that is going to turn out to be profitable. Because that's the other thing that's really important when you are in business, is that you're putting your energy and your attention onto what's called dollar productive activity. And sometimes that boring stuff, it isn't specifically dollar productive, but the outcome of it is dollar productive. And when you are in business, there's a mix between the hard and the soft skills. You know, the soft skills are the people stuff, where you're talking to people, networking, growing your business, growing yourself, experiencing those great, beautiful, golden moments. And then the hard skills is, what does your database look like? What is your marketing strategy? What is your business strategy? What are you planning on doing? Where are you taking it? Who is it going to be for? Who's your ideal client? You know, all of those sorts of things that once you know the skill of them, it just becomes a replication process. So you first got to learn the skill, and then you rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. But the part of your business that gets to be so fun and colourful and full of flavour and texture is when you get those beautiful ideas. And again, I get ideas all the time. You're spot on, Cyndi. But I am very impulsive. So if I'm not careful, I probably could have decimated my business 10 years ago. So my rule is, it goes up on the board for 5 days. If it keeps repeating itself in my mind over and over and over again for 5 days, then I'm allowed to pull out the structure on it. And if I can get the structure on it, then I'm allowed to implement it into my business. These are the rules I have on myself. But I think it's about knowing yourself, and I think it's about knowing what works. And, you know, in the very beginning, I remember my sister said to me, she said, find what works and repeat it. That's all you got to do, is find what works and repeat it. And then as you become a little bit more self-confident, especially when you're starting out, if you become a little bit more self-confident, a little bit more self-aware, and you get to know how you are and who you are, one, as a support to humanity, but two, as a business person, when we know who and what we are in both of those areas, then we can play around with them a little bit. But whether it's lingerie, lollipops, nutrition, or mindset is your business, it doesn't matter what your game is. Business principles are business principles. And, if you're not making money, you're not setting yourself up to be profitable, then you can't sustain your business and deliver that amazing message that's coming to you and through everything that you've learned, and then the world doesn't become a better place because of you. So it's very important that we place just as much emphasis on our ability to be profitable as our ability to be creative.
Actually, I absolutely love that you've got a strategy around that, because I do the same, Carren. I have all these ideas, and I need a yellow board. I'm going to have to put one up here somewhere. I might have to paint it over Carren.
Yay!
But, I just think that I have all these ideas, but I don't have that in that structure that you're talking about. I do have people around me that make me do that structure, I must admit. But these are women and men that have done the course. They want to get more information. They want to take it further. And to have that amazing structure, are you going to teach that to them, how to have a creative idea? Yay, I'm so excited. I'm going to learn too. You think we've done 275 podcasts together. That's more than 275 hours. You'd think I would have heard this.
Oh, love, yeah, but you'd think that I would have figured out what to do with the skin bag that I live in as well too, you know. Before we got onto the call, everybody, Cyndi was saying that I looked particularly good. And the last time I saw Cyndi, I can honestly say I looked like the dog's breakfast. But you know what? No, I did. We were in New Zealand and I had the stomach the size of a pillow. It was just huge. But, you know, how long have I known you, Cyndi? 12 years now?
Mm-hmm. Long time.
Creepers. After 12 years, finally.
Yeah. So we teach each other, and that's what I love. I love when people come to my summit. They're not only teaching the pupils in the classroom, but the pupils are teaching the teacher in the classroom. And we do this all the time because I learn so much from you, Carren. You know, like I said, we have done so many hours together, not only on podcasts, but on conferences, and we're, 2 weeks hiking away and doing things like that. And, one of the things that I recognize about you is you are organized, creative, what else? Till of a hun. You're till of a hun, but it works, and it works for you. And I've watched your business. You know, we met when you were working for somebody, and I haven't seen you work for anybody in a long time. So you were working for a real estate company at the time.
Yes.
So I can hardly wait for everybody to hear your story, number one, if they haven't heard it. But number two, get the information that they need to get out of their ways to become greater than they ever thought was possible, in order to be people that can influence in their community change that will, bring about health, but bring about inspiration for other people to make those changes as well. Okay. Is there anything that you would like to finish with before we say goodbye and they get to see you at the summit, which is on the 28th and 29th of July in Brisbane?
I do. Yeah, I do. I want to just really assure people that and I can only speak for myself, and I'm really excited to hear all of the other speakers as well. But I promise you, when you join us, my focus for you is going to be an accelerated ride, because I know what it's like being in business. It can be challenging, especially when you're going into something new. So I'm focusing on giving you an accelerated ride, the actual how-to tools. So you're going to walk out with strategies, and I'm going to talk to you about how to create a massive influence, meaning a circle of influence of people that you influence by influencing yourself, how to create a huge impact with what you've learned, and then create a massive income from that so that then you can sustain yourself. And I'm going to show you how to do that in an accelerated way. And yes, I am going to share with you my own personal strategies about how I've managed to build my business, because I do work by myself mostly. I'm pretty much a solopreneur, and I reel in resources when I need them, but for the most part, I work by myself. So that does require some very specific strategies set up so that it works, and so that I'm not getting overwhelmed. So I'm going to share with you my very own personal tricks and tips that I've discovered over the years. So I can't wait. I'm really excited. I can't wait to tell you all about it.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be amazing. And so just to let everybody know, it is July 28th and 29th. Just go to the FNA.academy, that's Functional Nutrition Academy, FNA.academy, and search for the events, and you will find the summit for 2018. And we look forward to seeing you there, Carren. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Oh, it's a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
So that was the last of the 6 interviews that I have done over the last 3 weeks. And I'm sure you will realize that the information that these 6 people have is phenomenal. And the 30 minutes that you heard from each of them will be just a touch of the iceberg of what they'll be teaching at the Functional Nutrition Academy Summit of 2018. So just to let you know, if you want to book in, I think by now the early bird special has finished, but if you would like to book in, just go to the Functional Nutrition Academy website, which is F for functional, N for nutritional, so fn.academy. Click on the events page and book in for that summit. The summit is for not only students and graduates of the FNA, but also for the general public who want to learn more about the topics that we've discussed over the last 3 weeks. And we have discussed topics on gastroenterology, as well as pediatrics, hormones, DNA, and the genes and alleles and SNPs, as well as enzymes for digestion and health, herbs, and mindset. So these are the topics that we will be doing at the Functional Nutrition Academy. We're also, just to remind you, we are also doing the screening of What's with Wheat on the 27th of July in the evening in the CBD of Brisbane. So make sure you book for that. I'll have Dr. Rodney Ford and myself in the forum, and if Kim Morrison makes it down, we'll definitely have Kim there. So if you have any comments, questions, or remarks that you'd like to make, please go to our Up for a Chat Facebook page, which is facebook.com/up-for-a-chat. And let us know what you think. If you have any questions, I'll try and answer them for you. If you want to give us a 5-star rating, please do. We like them because it helps us. And I have to tell you something else, you know. I have been traveling around Australia of doing the country tour, and it's called the Real Food Tour. And we average around 100 to 150 people in our talks. Some are smaller, but we're averaging around that 100, 150, which is excellent. And the amount of people that come up to me and say, we have listened to every one of your Up for a Chats. We love listening to you. You're like our friends. I listen to you when I go on my walks. And I just want to thank all of our listeners for your support. We've been doing this for years now, and without you, we wouldn't be able to continue. So I want to thank you for your support. Thank you for coming up and telling me that you have been listening to us for as long as we've been going, and that you feel like that you are our friend, because that's what Up for a Chat is all about. This is about us connecting with you and being somebody that is, you know, you're the fly on the wall in our conversations. And I have to tell you, our conversations usually are a long time before we start and a long time after. And we really do love doing this. And sometimes we don't even know what we're going to talk about. We've got a bit of a topic and we go for it. Other times we are totally in control and know exactly what we're talking about. But I've realized that the people that we love to interview are the everyday people, the people that are doing amazing things in their community. And while I've been traveling, I've been finding these people. And so you will notice over the next couple of weeks that we're going to be talking to people that have really made changes in their own lives, have had shocks in their lives, have had amazing success or amazing drama in their life, but they've come through it. And they usually come through it as a result of sticking to the principles of health. So, and enjoy what comes up in the next couple of weeks. And you will notice that seems to be more of our theme than getting the people that are specialists in their field, even though the last 3 weeks have been about that. Sometimes we like to just talk to the people that are on the ground and doing it the way we will do it. You know, they don't maybe have that science background, but they've found it either through Up for a Chat, Changing Habits 28, or through Carren Smith, or found it through some other means, but we just love hearing all about it. So until next week, look after yourselves. And as Kim said, self-care is not selfish. It's imperative that we look after ourselves, because if we can't look after ourselves, how do we look after our family and friends? And how can we influence these communities that we need to influence in order to change what's happening in our country and the world? So bye for now.
This year, the Wellness Summit returns.
The only lesson is ever going to be your learning. That's it. As long as you're learning, that's your lesson.
When you stand in front of the mirror, the talk, the things that go on between these ears in the morning can also be what sets you up for a day. And if you've beaten yourself up for not being the most extraordinary person that you can be, then start now.
We make it hard for ourselves. We make things difficult for ourselves because we go and apply a whole bunch of stories and a whole bunch of drama and a whole bunch of I'm not good enoughs to the things that occur in our lives. Wake the heck up. Today's a new day. And here's where it can change.
Kim Morrison and Carren Smith feature at the 2018 Wellness Summit. Bigger and better than ever. Tickets on sale Friday, May 4 at thewellnesssummit.com.
This has been a production of thewellnesscouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.